You're sitting in traffic. The slow crawl of taillights stretching into the gray evening. Your hand drifts to the glove compartment, almost on its own. You pull out a small, crinkly bag. Gummy bears. The plastic tears open with a satisfying rip. You pop one in your mouth. The rush of sweetness hits the back of your tongue. Instant, electric. The tangy artificial cherry flavor floods your senses. Before you even finish chewing, your fingers are already reaching for the next. And the next, you don't taste them individually anymore. They just become a steady river of sugar pouring into your body. The bag is half empty and you don't even remember eating them. You're not hungry. You had lunch 2 hours ago. But your body wanted this. It needed this. A deep, primal pull that overrode every rational thought. And now, with sticky fingertips on the steering wheel and a vague sense of shame settling in your stomach, you wonder, why can't I stop? Why does this happen again and again? No matter how much I promise myself this time will be different, but to understand that pull, you have to go back, way back. And what's waiting there in the distant past is something you'd never expect. The answer is not in your willpower. It's not in your personality. It's not even in this lifetime. It's buried 300,000 years deep in your cells. Because for 99.9% of human history, that sweet craving wasn't a weakness. It was the very reason you exist. To understand it, you have to leave the car, leave the traffic, leave the entire modern world. You have to go back to a time before grocery stores and vending machines, before agriculture, before even the simplest village. You have to go back to a time when sweetness was not a guilty pleasure, but a matter of life and death. It reveals that your midnight cake craving, your 3 p.m. candy bar, your inability to walk past a bakery without stopping, they are not personal failures. They are the screams of a survival system that kept your ancestors alive through famines and ice ages. A system that, right now, is being exploited by forces it never evolved to handle. And what scientists have uncovered about that ancient world, what archaeologists have found in caves, and what biologists have discovered in your own DNA, is far stranger than you might imagine. You're on the African savanna. The sun is blistering overhead. You've been walking for hours, your feet calloused and tough, your eyes scanning the landscape for anything that might be edible. Your stomach aches with a familiar, gnawing hunger. It's been 2 days since your last real meal. The handful of roots you dug up yesterday were fibrous and bitter. You need energy. Your brain runs on glucose. Your muscles need fuel. And your body is screaming for it. In the distance, you spot a tree. Not just any tree, a fig tree, heavy with fruit. Your pace quickens. As you get closer, you see the deep purple of ripe figs, some split open by the heat, their sticky juice glistening in the light. Your mouth floods with saliva. Your heart pounds. This is not a casual snack. This is survival. You scramble up the rough bark, ignoring the scratches on your legs. You grab a fig and bite into it. The sweetness explodes on your tongue. It's intense, complex, nothing like the one-note sugar rush of a candy bar. This is a symphony of flavors, earthy, floral, and profoundly sweet. Your brain lights up. Dopamine floods your reward pathways. Your body is celebrating. It's recording every detail of this moment. The shape of the leaves, the location of the tree, the season. Because this sweetness is rare, and your body knows it cannot afford to forget where it came from. This is the world your biology evolved for. A world where sweet meant safe, energy-rich, and life-saving. Over millions of years, evolution crafted an intricate system to detect and prioritize sweetness. Your tongue is lined with receptors called T1, R2, and T1, R3. They are exquisitely tuned to even tiny concentrations of sugars. When they fire, they send an immediate signal to your brainstem, then to your limbic system, and then, deep in your ancient brain, the nucleus accumbens floods with dopamine, the same chemical that drives you to seek water, sex, and warmth. The message is clear: get more of this. Now, there is no override. There is no maybe later. This is a command from the very core of your survival programming. But fruit was just the beginning. There was another sweetness, one far more dangerous to obtain, that would shape your cravings in ways you might not expect. One that humans would risk their lives for over countless generations. High up in a rocky crevice, you hear a faint, angry buzzing. A beehive. The sound sends a shiver of anticipation through you. Honey is nature's superfuel. It's the only food in the wild that is almost pure sugar. A single honeycomb can contain thousands of calories. Your ancestors knew it, and they went to insane lengths to get it. In South Africa, at a site called Border Cave, archaeologists found remnants of beeswax and honey on 40,000-year-old digging sticks. In Spain, The famous Cueva de la Araña cave paintings show a figure dangling from ropes, surrounded by angry bees, gathering honeycomb. In the forests of the Congo, the Mbuti pygmies still follow a small bird called the greater honey guide. The bird chatters and flits through the trees, leading the humans directly to a hive. The humans crack open the hive, take the honey, and leave the wax and larvae for the bird, a partnership that has likely existed for tens of thousands of years. For a hunter-gatherer on the verge of starvation, a find like that wasn't just a meal, it was a miracle. Your ancestors who felt an overwhelming, almost painful desire for that sweetness were the ones who survived the lean seasons, the ones who put on a few extra kilos of fat when they had the chance, the ones who lived long enough to have children. And then those children had the same craving, the same incredible sweet tooth, the same efficient fat storage system. You are their child. Your body is exactly the same machine, a machine built for a world of extreme scarcity, a machine that was designed to never, ever miss a chance to eat sugar. Because in that ancient world, you had no idea when the next calorie would come. You might go days, even weeks, with nothing but tough tubers and lean meat. So when sweetness appeared, your survival firmware screamed, eat. Eat it all. Store it as fat. Prepare for the famine. And here's where it gets strange. That ancient survival program, the one that saved your ancestors 1,000 times over, now has a glitch, a fatal one. Because the world you live in today is nothing like the one your body expects. And that glitch was not discovered in a cave. It was discovered in a laboratory by a man whose work would change the way humanity eats forever. Walk down any modern street, open any app, turn on any screen. You are swimming in a sea of sugar. It's in your coffee, your bread, your pasta sauce, your salad dressing. It's in the healthy yogurt and the low-fat snack bars. The food industry has figured out something that your ancient brain never anticipated. They can refine sweetness into a pure, isolated substance. They can concentrate it, crystallize it, and pump it into everything. And they can design it to hit a precise neurological sweet spot, a spot researchers call the bliss point. In the 1970s, a market researcher named Howard Moskowitz made a discovery that would change the world. He was hired to improve the sales of a struggling soda brand. So he did something radical. He created dozens of versions, each with a different level of sugar, and tested them on regular people. He found something fascinating. As the sugar level increased, people liked it more and more, but only up to a point. After that peak, too much sugar became cloying and actually less enjoyable. He mapped this peak precisely and called it the bliss point. It's the exact amount of sugar that sends your brain into maximum pleasure, without triggering your aversion to excessive sweetness. This bliss point is not natural. It's a completely artificial creation. In the wild, no fruit, no honeycomb, no root ever reaches this precise engineered level of sugar intensity. Wild raspberries have about 4 grams of sugar per 100 grams. A modern candy bar has 50 or 60. But it's not just the amount, it's the purity. Honey contains fructose and glucose bound up with water, enzymes, and antioxidants. Table sugar is just pure sucrose. High fructose corn syrup is even more intensely sweet and hits the brain faster. Moskowitz's discovery sparked a revolution. Food companies began engineering all their products to hit the bliss point. Not just soda, not just candy, everything. Tomato soup, crackers, peanut butter, bread. They discovered that if they added just the right amount of sugar, they could make any product irresistible. Your brain's ancient detector, designed for rare, precious finds, was now being triggered by almost every processed food on the supermarket shelf. The signal that once meant life-saving energy now fires constantly. And your body's fat storage system, that beautiful emergency backup plan, is switched on permanently. But the really cruel part is what sugar does to your brain over time. It doesn't just make you fat. It reprograms your mind. And a series of experiments on laboratory animals revealed something chilling. Researchers at Princeton gave rats a standard diet and a separate bowl of high-fructose corn syrup. The rats binged on the sugar. They gained weight rapidly and developed the exact metabolic profiles of human diabetes, high triglycerides, insulin resistance, fatty liver. But the most disturbing part came when the researchers took the sugar away. The rats exhibited physical signs of withdrawal. Their teeth chattered, their paws shook. They became anxious and aggressive. When the sugar was returned, they consumed more than ever. The neurochemical pathways they measured, involving opioids and dopamine, were identical to those seen in drug addiction. Sugar, divorced from its natural matrix, had become a substance of abuse for a mammalian brain. You felt this. Remember when a single cookie was a treat? Now you finish the whole sleeve and still feel a vague, nagging need for something else. Something sweeter, something more. That's not greed. That's a desensitized dopamine system, a brain trapped in a cycle of tolerance that it was never built to handle. Because in the ancient world, there was no infinite supply. The sugar binge ended when the fruit tree was bare or the beehive was empty. Your brain had a natural off switch, scarcity itself. We have removed that switch. To see just how deep this programming runs, consider the Hadza people of Tanzania. They are one of the last true hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. Their diet consists of wild game, tubers, berries, and baobab fruit. They eat what the land provides, and they work hard to get it. Researchers have studied their metabolisms extensively, and what they found is remarkable. Despite a very high level of physical activity, their bodies are incredibly efficient at conserving energy. When food is abundant, they put on weight easily. When it's scarce, their metabolisms dial down. Their bodies are constantly adapting, constantly preparing for the next lean season. And the Hadza do not suffer from obesity, diabetes, or heart disease. Not because their bodies are different from ours. Genetically, they are nearly identical, but because their environment still matches their biology. The sweetness they encounter is real fruit, wild honey, natural sources bound up with fiber, water, and micronutrients. The sugar hits their bloodstream slowly, cushioned by the other components, and the effort required to obtain it, climbing trees, walking miles, digging tubers, balances the energy equation. Their ancient survival machine runs perfectly in its original context. Take that same machine and drop it into a modern city, and everything falls apart. This mismatch gets even more profound when you look inside your own body. Your brain is the most sugar-hungry organ you possess. It weighs about 2% of your body mass, but it consumes 20% of your daily energy, and it runs almost exclusively on glucose. When your blood sugar drops, your brain panics. It sends out alarm signals, dizziness, confusion, shakiness, a desperate craving for anything sweet. In the ancient world, this was a critical survival alarm. It meant your fuel tank was running empty, and you needed to find fruit, honey, or fresh meat immediately. Today, that alarm goes off every few hours because your modern diet of refined carbohydrates sends your blood sugar on a violent roller coaster. You spike, you crash, you crave, you spike again, and every time you answer that alarm with a donut or a soda, you deepen the cycle. A landmark study at Yale University in 2015 made the neural basis of this addiction startlingly clear. Researchers scanned the brains of healthy, non-obese volunteers while they looked at pictures of milkshakes. Their reward centers lit up like fireworks. When they actually drank the milkshake, their brains released a massive surge of dopamine. But here was the disturbing follow-up. When participants consumed milkshakes regularly over several weeks, their brains began to react less and less. They needed more to get the same effect. The dopamine receptors had started to downregulate, exactly like the brains of people addicted to cocaine or alcohol. The milkshake wasn't just a treat. It had become a necessary stimulus for a brain now primed to expect supernormal sweetness. And consider that border cave again. Not only did they find honey residue on 40,000-year-old sticks, but they also found something unexpected, the remains of a plant called the bitter leaf. Today, traditional societies across Africa still chew bitter leaf or brew it as a tea after a heavy sugar binge. It contains compounds that naturally sensitize the body to insulin, effectively counteracting the blood sugar spike. Our ancestors, living in a world where sugar was rare but occasionally overwhelming, had stumbled upon a natural medicine to rebalance their bodies. They lived in an environment where the antidote grew right next to the poison. The modern food landscape gives you the sugar spike without the bitter leaf, the sweetness without the seasonality, the calories without the climbing. And there is an even older layer to this, something that goes back 60 million years. Most mammals can make their own vitamin C. They don't need fruit to survive, but our primate ancestors lost that ability. A single genetic mutation disabled the enzyme that produces vitamin C in our livers. From that point on, our entire evolutionary line became dependent on dietary sources, mainly fruit. This genetic accident locked us into an eternal dance with sweetness. Our bodies needed fruit to fend off scurvy, to heal wounds, to maintain our teeth and bones. So evolution doubled down on the sweet tooth. It made sweetness the most desirable taste on the planet. It wired our brains to reward us heavily whenever we found it. Your craving for sugar is, in part, an echo of a 60-million-year-old genetic mistake that turned into a survival necessity. All of this evidence, The archaeological digs, the brain scans, the rat experiments, the genetic history paints a picture. It tells you that the quiet moment in front of the refrigerator, that forkful of cake at midnight, is not a lack of discipline. It's a 300,000-year-old survival mechanism that has been hacked, hijacked, and pushed into a pathological state by an environment it was never designed to handle. And so, tonight, when you find yourself reaching for something sweet, try to see it differently. That hand, moving almost on its own, is not weak. It's not broken. It's the hand of a survivor. It's the hand of a hunter-gatherer who once climbed a rock face for a dripping honeycomb. It's the hand of a child who learned, 200,000 years ago, that the red berries on that bush meant another day of life. It's the hand of every ancestor who ever faced a long, hungry winter and made it through because their body remembered where the sugar was. Your craving is not a moral failing. It's the whisper of an ancient, brilliant machine that kept your bloodline unbroken against impossible odds. The problem isn't the machine. The problem is the fuel we're giving it and the world we've built around it. A world where sweetness has been stripped of its context, its seasonality, its natural limits. A world where the honey has no bees, where the fruit never falls from the tree, where the famine signal can be silenced for $1.99 at any corner store. You have a choice, not about the craving, because that will never go away. It's carved into your DNA as deeply as the shape of your bones. But you have a choice about how you respond to it. You can learn to see the sugar for what it is, a ghost of ancient survival, now poisoned by abundance. You can listen to your body's deeper, wiser voices, the ones that ask for whole foods, for movement, for natural sweetness wrapped in fiber and water. You can honor the ancient machine by giving it what it truly needs, instead of what it's been tricked into wanting. And when the craving comes, because it will, you can pause. You can put your hand on your chest and feel your heart beating. That heart, that body, is an heirloom. It has survived ice ages, plagues, famines, and endless dark nights. It has carried your ancestors across continents and through millennia. It is, right now, in this moment, doing everything it can to keep you alive. So the next time your hand reaches for something sweet, remember, you're feeling the echo of a forgotten famine, a hunger that kept your bloodline alive. It's not your fault. It's your inheritance. And perhaps, just perhaps, you can turn that sweet poison into a whispered reminder. A reminder that you are the product of an unbroken chain of survivors, that your deepest urges are not random glitches, but strategies that once turned the difference between life and death. The sweet poison is not just a trap. It is also a thread connecting you back through time. To every mother who hid away a cache of dried fruit for the winter, every father who braved a swarm of bees for a taste of golden honey, every child who learned to follow the greater honey guide through the dark forest. They are all, in this moment, living on inside you. And when you feel that pull, it's just them, reaching through the millennia, reminding you that you are alive. And that once, a very long time ago, that sweetness saved them all.